All right, here we go, folks. We are live here on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. And I am here with the intrepid Stephanie Otey, and we are going to discuss this just terrible, terrible, awful news of Michigan canceling the game for the first time in 10,000 years. They're just not even showing up. Where this is a new low for the Michigan program. COVID schmovid. They're not even showing up. I guess you can't get your tail kicked up into the air if you don't even show up. Stephanie, I don't know about you, but I am absolutely dejected right now.
I know, because they returned to practice yesterday, and Jim Harbaugh kept pushing his media availability back. So there were looming concerns, but I know that Ohio State wasn't forced to cancel their games, and that tended to be the trend in the Big Ten, where they do a precautionary cancellation because then you'd be out technically 3 games with those tests. So if they cancel, then lock it down and get the negative test to come in. That way you don't have to be out 21 days. But I can't imagine Michigan doing that on the very last game of the schedule. And if practices were given the go-ahead Monday, I mean, it was limited. But at the same time, you know, the medical experts said that the game couldn't be played. So it's
curious, right? Like this is curious, guys. Michigan. So I'm going to lay out the scenario, and please comment what you think. I see Bill Faulkner there commenting, what's the point of life? At this point, none of us know right now. Everything hurts and we are dying. Please leave us a comment, especially those watching on YouTube. And if you can, hop over to the YouTube channel and comment what you think. Let me lay this out for you. So Michigan stinks, right? And I'm not saying that as an Ohio State fan. They're terrible at football, objectively, getting worse under Jim Harbaugh. And you're down some quarterbacks, and now you're down. Okay, I'm not saying you didn't have some positive tests, and you're about to re-sign someone who is doing bad things to your program. You pay someone $7 or $8 million a year to ruin your program, and you're about to re-sign him. And then if you do play this game, you're about to be embarrassed on national television with the head coach that you just re-signed. And all of a sudden, oh, we can't play because there was a virus, there's a pandemic, and we had positive tests, and we just can't do it. We just can't do it. Doesn't it just seem curious? Like it's just all kind of too convenient. You could practice Monday. You could practice Monday, but then we cancel availability on Tuesday. Stephanie, this is best case scenario. They really got 20 positives and 20 contacts that can't play. That seems odd if you were really, really protecting yourself and really, really trying hard not to get the virus like Ohio State did after the Illinois thing, right, Stephanie? Which kind of lends to your theory earlier in the year. Or you're like, hey, man, come breathe in my face. I don't want to go play for this program, and I don't want to go get my tail kicked in front of the world.
Yeah, I mean, but Ryan Day spoke today, and he said that it was very difficult for him to receive that positive test because, like you said, he is doing everything he can to prevent getting that positive test. He stayed in a hotel during the season away from his family, and so he was really hard on himself, and he didn't have a ton of physical symptoms, but that's not the case for everyone. He gave himself a hard time. He beat himself up over it, but eventually he saw the way the team came together under Larry Johnson, and a lot of the staff had to step up, and even the players and things like that. My question on the Michigan end is, okay, yes, you're having a tough season. It's 2020 on top of it. But you go to these programs to play in this game. This is the rivalry. It's the greatest rivalry in all of college football, arguably sports alone. So even if you're out, guys, give them the opportunity to play in this game. You got a huge audience tuning in. You got so many fans. I mean, the history of it alone. I don't know why, if it really came down to it. I know that there were a lot of positive tests, and that was a massive concern. But if they were practicing Monday, I would think you wouldn't deprive the players of that opportunity to avoid an embarrassment or something. And I know someone who spoke with the Michigan players just yesterday, and they were excited to play. And so they were, because and they acknowledged, you know, it was someone who's been deep into the program for years and years, and they said like, hey, this is the game. There's an excitement to playing this game. So I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not saying that this was, you know, malice behind it. It probably came down to some strict protocols that were in the conference. Think about it. If anything bad, COVID-wise, came from this game, you know, you get a lot more backlash than being safer than sorry. But I know this game means a lot to the players, even the ones not on the winning end or going into it in the situation that Michigan is in.
Yeah, and guys, I want you to comment and leave us a comment, and I'll display it up here, however you're watching, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Like, who do you think is mostly to blame here? Is it the University of Michigan football program as a whole? Is it the university? Is it Jim Harbaugh? Is it Kevin Warren? Is it Stephanie Otey? Like, who do you think?
COVID, honestly, I would say COVID is to blame, because when you're an administrator or an athletic director or a coach, you really do have to consider the virus alone. So, I mean, it's a tough decision. I've never been in a position where I had to make a call on COVID for so many people involved. You know, it can't be easy.
How many people you think would have to get in to cancel the Iron Bowl? How many people?
Well, because each conference has their own protocol, and I know the Big Ten is changing theirs. Other programs could, but I don't know how long for that game to be canceled.
I mean, I think there is no, like, the Lindsay Lohan GIF. The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
No,
like, you want to talk about this is the greatest rivalry in sports, and then it's like, oh, but we had this. I know the Big Ten did nobody any favors. I know that, but this is an interesting point. Casper says, I know Ohio State is in communication with the Big Ten. Do you see a scenario of OSU playing this weekend? I believe OSU, if there is a way that they allow it, if the Big Ten says yes at all, Ohio State will take it.
Everything they can. And I know from a direct source within Ohio State that they're gonna do anything they can to get into the playoff. So I know the committee is looking at the eye test here. There was a much better game Ohio State displayed this past weekend than they did against Indiana. But the Big Ten, they're going to meet tomorrow to discuss, all right, well, we let in someone with 5 games. But think about it here. Ohio State is their biggest moneymaker. You need Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. You need them in the playoffs. But at the same time, look at how they chose their coaches of the year or the coaches of the decade, players and all of that. They're not doing Ohio State any favors, because there are many players who were overlooked simply because, oh, we can't have an all Ohio State decade team. They're trying to for all of the teams here because it is a conference. Everyone has to be included. But that kind of cheats the system because, okay, the best team needs to play. And if you're trying to be all inclusive here, not everybody can play like Ohio State. So it is, it is hard. You got to tread the water lightly, but I think their first order is they wanted to play Michigan. I know Michigan had a lot of pressure to make this game happen. So I think that the stakes had to have been raised today, because earlier this morning, we didn't have any indications that things were getting worse. Harbaugh did cancel or push back, who knows. That was a sign, but also he was maybe just buying more time. Ohio State waited until Friday to cancel their game against Illinois. These teams are doing everything they can, and maybe the statements I made or Kirk Herbstreit made might have given Michigan pressure, but I do know the Big Ten is not going to let this just go away.
Did you see that they released a statement just now? So, yeah, here we go. The Big Ten. It says, we are aware of the cancellation of the football game between the University of Michigan and the Ohio State University this weekend. The decision was made today by the University of Michigan because of an increasing number of positive COVID-19 cases and student athletes in quarantine over the past week. Michigan made its determination after conversations with medical. Oh gosh, here we go. Medical experts,
Staff that
health.
allowed to practice yesterday. That's yeah.
Yeah, conversation with health department officials and university minute. If you ask medical experts and health department officials, you know what they will say. Go hide in your room and never come out.
But what's the difference between the medical staff in the Big Ten versus the SEC? Like this was a big thing going all the way back into the summer. The reason why these parents were protesting, the information we receive is not the same as what other conferences receive. I mean, when the Big Ten originally canceled their season and the Pac-12 followed, they had a 12-page document explaining why. And so even though Ohio State eventually did come out and say, hey, myocarditis, all of these issues, well, over the past several months, things have changed. Now, the CDC did announce that 7 to 10-day quarantine. The Big Ten is still issuing a 21-day quarantine. So they will be discussing all of that tomorrow. But hey, a little too late, because look at what happened in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So I wanted, just as for a good laugh, the closing sentence of their statement is, the conference is committed to transparency and will continue to collaborate with its member institution stakeholders to determine Big Ten football championship game participation requirements as well as tiebreakers. Long and short of that is, I think they're going to allow Ohio State to participate in a Big Ten championship game. They'll change the rules if they have to. I think they need to do that. They know who the cash cow is. What's that?
They didn't change the number of games played, did they?
No, I think that is them trying to say, but we will if we have to get Ohio State in.
I keep refreshing my email. I still do not have a press release. So
your phone's probably a mess right now. I'm sure everybody
Verizon literally this weekend to upgrade it because it just kept crashing. So I'm just like, wow, so when the conference originally canceled the season, I was literally under anesthesia. Like I was getting a tooth surgery, and I just knew that it was going to be chaos when I got out. So I kept telling him, I know they're meeting at 10 a.m. My surgery was at like 9:30 or something.
You're a warrior. That's crazy. Now, so Ferdinand says the Big Ten is meeting tomorrow to discuss this. What I'd also like them to is any opponent Ohio State wants to play. Any opponent. Guys, I don't know. Look, we've heard Purdue's having a tough time, so comment. Would you guys, as fans, would you like an Indiana rematch? Oh, look at this idiot. Good to see you, Stephanie. He says, would you guys take an Indiana rematch? Here you go. I'll put that. And also, what do we hear? Is Wisconsin and Iowa? I think I might have heard whispers about one of those teams. Look, Wisconsin, Iowa, or Indiana. I say Indiana because
I'm hearing. Let me check. The group message is what kills me. I have with our.
No, what is the industry saying?
Yeah, well, we're hearing with this group here. I'm hearing that Indiana may have some concerns as well.
Yeah, not getting beat again is probably their biggest concern.
So maybe some COVID.
Yeah, I just have a hard time. I have a hard time with that. I really do. Now, Purdue.
Tom Herman, I think he would play.
No, that's the thing. I don't think it's up to the coaches always. Like, I think Jim Harbaugh would play. I think Jim Harbaugh would play if it was up to him. I think he wants to play. But
you saw the video I released Monday, I believe, when I spoke to Mike McCartney, who grew up with Jim Harbaugh. Their dads were both coaching with Bo at Michigan.
Yep.
And a lot of people said, it's funny that the Michigan fans that followed that, they were always surprised that people would think that Harbaugh wasn't bought into this rivalry. He grew up in it during the 10-year war. So he's definitely engraved in this. I mean, it's not easy. Any chance he gets to beat Ohio State, even with a limited – think about it. If you had a limited roster and you took down Ohio State, that alone could redeem you. I think he won't play this game.
He's playing with house money, literally win-win, like for him.
He's not going to lose. I mean, he's already got a losing record against Ohio State.
Yeah, and look, I just don't know how Michigan can come back from this. Your program's getting worse, and now you didn't show up.
I think, it was what, a 29-point spread at the highest it's been in who knows how long. I still think, like, even with the odds completely stacked against you, Ohio State always has thrived when they're an underdog. Granted, it doesn't happen too often in the Big Ten.
You know when Michigan's thrived? I don't. I'm asking. Do you know? Do you know? Because I don't. I don't know. So
You gotta have a special player, and I can't think of. They're struggling even when it comes to recruiting. I mean, players want to play at Ohio State.
yeah.
Well,
Okay. So let me. Hopefully it could be. Let me tell you why I hope it's Indiana that we get to play. Now Ohio State has a resume boost and 2 wins over Indiana, and then they will get whoever wins the West, I guess likely Northwestern, right? And they get to have a win over a ranked team again in Northwestern. And now you have enough case to where you can maybe slip Ohio State into that 3 spot and where they don't have to play Bama first and foremost. And it's not
Notre Dame beats Clemson. They're going to be in number 2.
Trevor
Lawrence.
Yeah. I'm just more concerned. I think it's Bama as the pack leader, and this Ohio State team, needs reps. So I just need them to fall into the 3 spot.
The edge after a second win on Clemson with Trevor Lawrence back in and having played more games. You know what I mean? Like,
you think they'd get in over Bama at the 1?
Oh no, not the 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just as long as we don't get the 4, just the best resume we can possibly get to get the 4, 3. Honestly, I don't think, but I just don't think Notre Dame can do it. I don't think Notre Dame can beat Clemson healthy.
Yeah.
Corey, this is when much needed humor. Corey looks good today. Yeah. There's some different changes and things that have went on there. Mine Williams more carries than Tegan Sermon. Well, to do that, Jeffrey, we would have to have a game, and to do that, we would have to have a competent conference, and we would have to have a willing opponent. Can OSU schedule the Jets?
Oh boy.
Guaranteed win. Look, so if Wisconsin's having trouble, what do you think about Iowa? You hearing anything there? I mean, that would be a ranked opponent.
I keep refreshing. We won't know anything until we knew we would know today. And
right.
But honestly, even with Harbaugh pushing his media availability back, I wasn't concerned.
I thought that was just about him getting an extension when he shouldn't get it, and let's not talk about it because Michigan runs things.
I just thought like another round of testing would be today. I didn't think it would come this early.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another thing, they had to do it early because they have pressure. Literally, they're playing to help Ohio State. Ironically, like the conference is giving them so much pressure. So in this instance, they had to do it sooner so that Ohio State could figure out another opponent. But at the same time, like I don't know, like I want to know if they won't release this because it's college and they have to protect the players. But was the number of positive tests enough to actually cancel the game? Because from our conversations within the media is that and with the programs, there hasn't been enough to cancel, but it has been precautionary. That's been the trend.
Yeah, and what would you be precautionary about with this one? Like
you don't want to affect other players, but we do know, and this is what science has told us, is that you're not contracting the virus on the field. You know,
right?
And this is what I'm trying to remember who told me this one. But if you're sitting next to someone for a while, that's when you can contract it. But if you're in passing, or if you're like even hitting a guy with COVID, it's not like you're staying on there and letting it like get the virus in you. Like if you're just playing back and forth, there's lower risk.
Yeah. Can you
then maybe.
Can you give it to me through this broadcast?
No.
Because I know you're in Ohio and things apparently it's The Walking Dead there, right? So
that was the other thing. I mean, the county that Ohio State the players were in was like a purple level. I mean, it was the highest. So
yeah,
it was tough. And Ryan Day spoke today. He was very hard on himself. Like he had to dig himself out because he truly did everything he possibly could to prevent getting the virus, and then he got it. Like that was very, very hard on him.
Yeah. So Indiana Creekwalker says, how about a 4-game series, Northwestern versus Indiana and Ohio State versus Iowa? Will build resumes for SU and is fair to all.
That will hear. So there is like, okay, Ohio State's healthy, they're ready to play, but like, what team is going to like get up and help them have a game?
Yeah.
The conference to do it, but at the same time, like the concern that these teams are kind of expressing, they have resistance mainly because like you have less time to prepare for the top team in the conference.
Yeah, I think
unless we just play the opponent we had scheduled, if we can both play.
I think they have to look at it like this though. If you don't go play Ohio State, if you need an opponent, and Ohio State is the only partner willing to dance, right? And you look at different teams and they say, do you like to play football? Well, yeah, I'm a football player. Do you like to play football, coach? Yeah, I'm a football coach. Well, they're the only people that'll help you play football this weekend. Do you want to go play or not? And I think,
if you like, number one, you go to college. If you're a college football player, you go there because you want to play football. Also,
right.
You want to go because you want to get into the NFL. You need reps. Like any agent, any scout, any team will tell you, we want film. Whatever you do at the combine, okay, cool. That's like the same thing as you're studying, and then you take this test. Okay, well, however you do on the test doesn't tell me how to apply it to real life experience. Yeah. So I mean, the film that you can get is so crucial. So if you can get more tape to show these teams, I think any NFL draft eligible player would do that.
Yeah. So Dave Liberty says Lone Buckeye in Louisiana, they need a game. Absolutely what Steph just said. Indiana again says IU would play OSU again.
Well, where they switched. Okay, so that game, number one, the thing you have to think about is who has the broadcast for the Purdue Indiana game?
Oh, who wins? That was Big Ten Network. Big Ten Network.
So then they're both owned by Fox, so that one could work. But
see, look at the Steph going next. See, that's why you're on here. You know all these things.
Well, I talked to the Fox Network just yesterday, and they were saying, "Oh, optimistic," and yeah, so that crash and burn. But Fox is the parent company to Big Ten Network, so they could switch this out, and if it's within the conference, that would also allow eligibility for Ohio State to get into the Big Ten championship. Okay, but here, Indiana and Ohio State both are scheduled to be at home this week. And Indiana had to go to Columbus in the last game.
I think to go to. Gene Smith, to his credit, is a football yes man. Does the football team want it? Yeah. Does the football team ask for it? Do they get it? Yes. That's his answer. He would load them up and get them there. I truly believe that.
Who do you think would get it? The home game?
Indiana. No, Indiana. He would say, "Okay, you came here last time. Yeah, we'll be on a bus. We'll be down there."
Like it's also like, hey, like you can try again, and it was close last time.
Yeah, and you know what's awesome? Maybe a blessing in disguise in that scenario. There were no ticket sales this year, so we don't have to refund the home game Ohio State people, right? Look, it's senior night, right? Like let's get real here for a second. Like, imagine that. Think of the children. Geez, Kevin Warren. Geez, Mark Schlissel.
Yeah. See that's the. Well, I mean, if the teams are making that debate, hey, I don't know if I want to switch opponents because we only have a few days to prepare now. You already played Ohio State.
Yeah. They would have the least amount. Look, Indiana Creekwalker here. Teams. Yeah, Tom Allen's game. Look, again, all those excuses I think go out to the side when you say, yeah, we would like to have more time to prepare this, that, and the other. However, the only way you can play a football game at all is to go play Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So do you want it or do you not? I know no, they wouldn't win, but no one cares. I think.
But honestly, if you're the savior that like goes and plays Ohio State and you have the game of your life, because for some players this is the last game they'll play in college, I would do it. If I went in there as a huge underdog with barely a quarterback left hanging, I would go for it. I would have the game of my life. Like imagine the adrenaline you would have.
Tell your kids you played against Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heisman. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was on his high. I'm the one that missed the tackle that gave him the Heisman moment. Or I'm the one he drug into the end zone or whatever. Yeah. So I think, Steph, we just are going to have to need more time to see what develops.
I don't think the concern is with the playoff committee, though.
What's that?
The concern isn't with the playoff committee just yet.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We do have to see how some of these other games transpire. But 5 games,
That's not great.
that's not a lot.
That's not great. I mean, that's a 4 seed at best. And I think it is a 4 seed, but it is a 4 seed. And then, like, it's not great because you get a shot, but you have to go play a team
Or are we going to expand the playoff? This would be the year to at least try it.
I don't know. Yeah, but can they do that on such short notice?
Honestly, the networks would love it, obviously.
Yeah. No, I'm sure conferences would like more chances to get more teams in there. There's all kinds of scenarios you can throw out there, but
an extended playoff would benefit the networks that lost a game.
Yes, and
programs wouldn't lose as much money.
That's another good point. I mean, more games, right? Because we've lost games, we've lost ticket sales.
That's something we don't know much about yet. The committee, whether or not it's been brought up just yet, we don't know. But that's an instance where I would like to see a Cincinnati get in and get these other teams that aren't in the Power 5 to get some oomph there because it's 2020. It's so lopsided. We didn't have out of conference games, so having that would expand the interest, I think, and it'd be good for college football as a whole.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people out there saying Texas A&M.
I got a bunch of texts about that one too.
But look, the Big Ten's not going to allow another team or from another conference that doesn't go through Big Ten protocols. I'm going to say this. I think the SEC's protocol is, well, we can't have positives if we don't test. And like, I just don't think you're going to get now for some reason. Now I eat a little crow there because their game is actually postponed. So they're actually postponing some, the Ole Miss game there, but it's got to be a Big Ten team. I think that's the only way it happens. And honestly, for all the reasons mentioned, Indiana, it's a good game. It's a quality opponent, a game opponent, good storyline. It's a short commute, even though I think it's got to be Ohio State that goes to Indiana. Even if it doesn't have to, even if somehow, some way the Big Ten's like, no, it has to happen in Columbus because of something coronavirus protocol, paragraph 3, whatever. It's a short commute. Shorter, right? Than
Indiana had a 3:30 game, and Ohio State had a 12 game. So
call it 3:30, yeah.
Yeah, so if they needed to drive out Saturday morning, which they were going to do for that Illinois game, Ohio State's willing to do it. They were willing to push their flight back as much as they could for Illinois, and I'm sure they would do that for Indiana, something that's half the commute. So Ohio State's going to do it. It's a matter of someone else stepping up. And honestly, I think Indiana's the person. Tom Allen would do it. I mean, he can motivate that team. So, did you see that last game? Oh, it was amazing. Like he was doing his post-game interview. They're like, "We love you," and you could just
that was a great recruiting poster, by the way.
After the Penn State overtime win and the locker room. I mean, they love him. I think they're going to be a strong contender in the coming years because of Tom Allen.
Yeah, I mean the biggest piece of the puzzle for teams like that is recruiting. Like, can you recruit enough to catch up and make up the gap? And now that he's got all these players saying like, "This is the best coach. This is the best coach. We love playing for him." Like, that's going to certainly help your recruiting. Yeah,
that's what I've heard inside of Michigan is they're not motivated to play for Harbaugh right now. And just look what it does to a program, especially, and I talked to Urban Meyer about this. This year is going to test the culture and the character of the programs, and it was exposed. So, but I think Penn State had, they lost a lot of players who opted out, and maybe that was circumstantial, but I definitely think the culture within Michigan is struggling, and it's showing on the field.
I think Penn State's is too, and I think you see that Indiana and Ohio State are certainly healthy. Steph, I don't think.
Look at Northwestern. They love him too. So I think you got to love your coach, and if you want to play for your coach, you're going to give it your all.
Yeah. I think we probably need to wrap it up until more information comes out. But I like Indiana Creek Walker's point there that there is big money involved. OSU will get an. I don't know. I don't know if they will get an opponent this week, but I think they will get into the Big Ten championship
I
game.
think the money, and I know for a fact that the conference and athletic directors are working extremely hard for Ohio State to make it through the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yep, I think you're right, Steph. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have to do some work again together soon.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.